All right, family. All right. Thank you once again for your patience. We got a late start tonight, but if you in divine alignment, we right on time. Uh got a great guest tonight. I want to before I get started, I want y'all to get comfortable. We're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to discuss a topic that is very important. So let me get to a commercial real quick. Let everybody get settled in. Hit that like button, tell your friends and family. Black Magic 363 is now live. Let's get to a quick commercial from King Simon. Then I'm going to bring on my guest. All right, family? Be right back in about 30 seconds.
Numerovation with King Simon. Text me now at 347-496-1022. You could also take my course if you want to, but do text me for your sessions at 347-496-1022. You can also get my books on Amazon at Linktree/King Simon the Numerovator. Remember, you can book your session and get it done right now. 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. King Simon the Numerovator.
All right, and without any further ado, want to welcome back to the channel none other than Chief Pontiac Rod Hayes.
What it do, brother Rich? What it do?
Yo, welcome back to the show, brother. Yo, wait, hold up. Welcome back, man. How's everything been, my brother?
Everything been going good, man. We looking for something. I don't know what's about to happen, but they're giving all of the signs that something about to take place. So it's going to be some kind of disclosure
Yeah.
that's coming in soon.
Wow. Wow.
It's going to be whatever it is. Donald J going to announce it. It's going to be big. As he say, he don't say it's going to be big. He said, could be huge. Going to be huge.
you know how he talk. You know how he talk. Yo, you know what I want to show you too, Rod? A brother gave me this at the gathering, man. He gave me an eagle feather, man. This brother, what's the brother name? I got it. Windwalker. I didn't remember his name last time. I'm gonna have a brother on the show. The brother name is Windwalker, and he gifted me a eagle feather. So I want to give a shout out to Windwalker. I thought about Rod because you know what Rod is chief. So I was like, oh, I was very thankful, man. But thank you to the brother Windwalker. He's one of the groups that represented at the Million Man March in '95, I think, when Farrakhan had it in DC. So shout out to that brother, man, and shout out to everybody out there representing the land. You know, Rod, man, we got an important show tonight. Our people know a lot about the Bible. The Bible is a book that any hotel you go to see a Bible. You go to anywhere you go, pretty much a Bible's everywhere. Wherever you go, there's a Bible somewhere. So everybody's familiar with the spiritual text that we know of as the Bible. People are familiar with the Quran. People are familiar with some other books like the Book of Enoch, things like that. One spiritual text that I would say the Black community isn't very familiar with, that other communities are familiar with, Indian communities, the Bhagavad Gita. And being that we were a global people, being that at one time on the planet, when you look around, it was a whole lot of brothers that look like us or darker. Being that we are an ancient race, it's time for us to dive deep into these ancient texts that could be of great, tremendous help to us during this awakening. As you say, something's about to happen in a disclosure. These texts could awaken stuff in us, Rod, that has not been awakened yet. I know you dive deep into a lot of these spiritual texts. One of the sharpest brothers I know when it comes to ancient history. So let's talk about this Bhagavad Gita, Rod Hayes. Let's talk about the characters in it, the purpose of it, and what can we learn from it? Let's talk about this Bhagavad Gita. I heard Sadhguru talk about it on YouTube. What is your opinion and what's your take on the Bhagavad Gita, Rod?
So the Gita is actually an excerpt from a larger text called the Mahabharata.
Mm.
And in India,
what was the event early this year that ushered in the golden age? What was the name of that again?
It was called the Mahabharata.
Mahabharata. Okay, and so that's the Mahabharata, and the Bhagavad Gita comes from the Mahabharata,
right? Which is a much larger text.
Okay. They
There's also, yeah. So they have the prime text of a lot of. So Hinduism is not really a religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on more your caste and which spiritual school of thought you espouse because of your family line.
Right.
When you look at the overall text,
Mm-hmm.
right, they got chapters called sutras.
Mm-hmm.
The Bhagavad Gita is it's a narrative of a story between the charioteer named Arjuna, who's talking to Lord Krishna, right? Now, if you know in Kemet, we have what's called KRST, Krast.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna is the Hindu variant of the same energy,
Mm.
right? So it means the anointed. And the anointed is the one who raises the sacred secretion. The physical anointing is done by the women in the clan with the oil. So now in Christianity, they use olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
But in the ancient cultures, they use the oil of the alligator that they get from the alligator's brain, his cerebral spinal fluid. It looked the same. Then some over here they use alligator oil, right? All these oils is to symbolically give you the spiritual initiation in the physical world that matches your spiritual initiation in the spiritual world. So as you anoint the child, as he grow, he's going to be looking for markers that's going to allow him to activate. So he's going to become the Krast or the Kursna, and he's going to be the heir apparent to restore Earth at the close of the age. This is the story where Krishna explaining to Arjuna that so Arjuna asked him a question early in the text about why do he see family members that's taking up both sides of the war against each other. And Krishna goes on to explain to him that in spiritual war, some of the people in our family in a past life was probably our mortal enemy. And it shows up in the spiritual conflict when you're looking at it with a spiritual vision.
Okay.
So Krishna was able to see spiritually, and he was able to recognize what Arjuna was looking at and explain to him. And he go into a lot of other what they call wisdom teachings.
Mm-hmm.
The basic premise of the book is to explain the spiritual warfare and the battle on earth between what we say men and angels, or angels and men, gods and men, mortals
Mm-hmm.
and immortals, right? So all of that is those ancient war scrolls. There's a lot of them in India, but they're not even all written as if it's a war dynamic taking place. Some of them are written as spiritual teachings, but it's still part of spiritual warfare.
Right. Right. Now, who else? Who are some of the in the Bible? You got the characters in the Bible. You got Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Mary. Who are some of the characters in the Bhagavad Gita?
It's the two main characters. The two main characters is having a discussion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it'll put you in the mind of the Machiavelli Art of War, where you have a military philosopher that's having a conversation with a battle-tested military general. The
Mm.
philosopher gained his rank in general by going through military training in military school, where the general came up in the ranks from a soldier on the battlefield to rise through the ranks as a general. And the art of war, Machiavelli, is this dialogue between the two to understand how the one that was on the battlefield see the battlefield different than the one that was trained in the boardroom or in the battle room, the war room.
And who's
So
the two
the
having the dialogue?
so in the Bhagavad Gita, is Lord Krishna is having this conversation with Arjuna about the spiritual warfare,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the comparative analysis was Prince Niccolo Machiavelli's Art of War, where he wrote it for Leonardo Piero Medici when
Mm-hmm.
he was rising to power in I think it was Italy.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people ride when they think about the Bible, they look at the Bible as a prophetic book, and they'll talk about revelations and how a lot of things are coming to pass. Is there text in the Bhagavad Gita that you could look at modern time and look at 2024 and say, "Damn, Bhagavad Gita is right on point with what's happening right now"?
The spiritual warfare aspect, because even now, when the ones that's the chosen ones begin to speak out and tell what they know, you have family members that want to silence them, right?
Uh-huh.
We call them matrix agents, right?
Right.
But really what it is they programmed by the world, and the ones that's the chosen ones is programmed to do a job for the world when they get in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the it's a lot of different wisdom teachings in there. Arjuna and Krishna being the main characters, but they do talk about, they call other names of the people they looking at while they're giving the discussion, but the main characters are still Arjuna and Krishna.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about the spiritual war, just to use a modern example, I forgot who I was interviewing the other day, and we might have been talking about, what's the young brother name, y'all? We was talking about the archons. What's the young brother name? Oh, RFG, the chosen one. And I was talking
Hmm.
about, if if this is let's say this is a game, a holographic projection, a game that's being played, and we're talking about entities like the archons or whatever. What When I asked him about your children, I want to ask you about your parents, Rod. What if your parents, as much as we respect Big Mama and our mother, a lot of people have horrible relationships with their mother. What advice would you give to them if there's spiritual warfare going on between them and their mother? Their mother may be programmed by the Matrix, and they may have come down here to reprogram the Matrix. What advice would you give them, Rod?
I would tell them, don't try to fight with your parents. You got to lead by example. You Because your parents, like I said this, so this is funny you would bring up a recent interview. In a recent one of my lives, I was like, we have to learn to respect our elders, even though some of them batshit crazy,
Mm, mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
They've
mm-hmm,
been they A lot of them have been indoctrinated so well by the enemy that they
mm-hmm,
can't tell who they are versus who their ancestors were. Who they believe they a whole different set of people than the people they was before 1492.
mm.
This is why we are dressed up like everybody but the organic originals from the land.
Right. Indeed. Somebody in the chat, and this was actually one of the things I want you to touch on. Where's it at? Where's it at? I want to bring this up right away, right now, since you brought it up. Can you talk about the three modes, since we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita, the three modes of material nature?
Yeah, so that's the same material is the same as the states of matter, solid,
Uh,
liquid, and gas.
uh,
We look at those as the solid being earth, the liquid being water, which is the symbol for spirit, the steam being the emanating source of all. So as we go through the three folds of the material world, we become in tune with our a higher consciousness that would be in this third state of matter, which would be a gaseous state, what we call the nine ether.
mm-hmm,
Right. So the nine ether is the oversoul, overspirit, the collective unconscious. Then you have the water, which is the symbol for spirit in the physical world. And then you have the earth, which is solid matter, which the human body has all three components, plus the fourth element of fire, the fifth element being the ether.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right. So those three states of matter are also states of consciousness
mm-hmm,
according to your spiritual development.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A quick question. It's a little off topic from the Bhagavad Gita, but it came to my mind, so I guess it's meant for me to ask you. Um, a lot of people call us non-ether beings. I've heard a lot of people refer to us through the years of me being in this study as non-ether beings, and they refer to our hair as non-ether hair. They refer to it as antennas. I always wondered, Rod, our hair spirals. We learning more and more about the importance of the spiral and the coil and things of that nature. Why when we're born, when we first incarnate into this realm and we take on this avatar, why would as a baby coming out the mother's womb, out the portal, why is our hair straight and it takes a while to develop that spiral, that galaxy spiral? Why don't we come down here with the non-ether? Why does it take a year or two or three and then you see the hair
That,
spiraling more and
that's
more?
only certain ones. I was born nappy hair.
Okay.
I was born with nappy hair. My mom used to call me a little raisin head boy, talking about nappy hair.
Yeah.
Right. So that's based on you sitting in the amniotic fluid.
Uh,
Hair tends to relax in water.
uh,
Right.
okay.
So when you've been in there for 9 months, it's going to take a while for the oils and the air from around it to interact with the hair itself to cause it to change state.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
normally the ones born with straight hair, they end up with what's called curly locks.
mm-hmm,
That's like 8 ether,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right? The 9 ether is the real tight stuff. What they call it, BB shots and robo knots. You remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, BB shots. I ain't hear that in a while. BB shots. I ain't hear that in a
Yeah,
while since Martin.
yeah,
Martin, the sitcom Martin. Oh man. Wow.
yeah. So, but that's the 9 ether. The true 9 ether, they don't really grow long hair. Um, they normally have naturally short hair and naturally don't grow long. But
Mm-hmm,
some of us, when we right between 8 and 9, we can grow a big afro,
mm-hmm,
And then if you really look at the afro is the attempt to straighten out the kinks in the hair
mm-hmm.
by using, picking it out,
Yeah.
poofing it up and then pack it down because they don't know nothing about packing the afro down,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it's symmetrical.
Right. Right.
But when you grow up in the 70s, you seen it. You seen it firsthand. Everybody tending to their afro. My whole family had afros in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Afros used to be real big. The universe. I was talking to Dr. B the other day. I told Dr. B, I said, if you look at the universe, like how they say the universe is a brain, and they'll show the brain with the neurons coming out, then they'll show the universe. The universe almost looks like an afro, Rod. That shit look like one huge afro that keeps going, Rod. The
Yeah,
universe.
so that's dark matter.
Yeah, yeah.
That's dark matter. You gotta remember, it's just like being inside of the uterus. We just inside of a bigger version called
Right.
creation,
Yeah.
right? And the only way you can get in is through a portal.
Yeah.
But creation itself is a galactic portal,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Prime Creator filters down information and puts the rest of everything in order by utilizing a agency of man in the realm of humanity in order for us to fix the problems. So we
Mm-hmm.
got at the close of last age, so the Piscean age closed out now. We in the early days of the Aquarian. The energy ain't fully hit yet, but it's
Mm-hmm.
revving up. And this is being told by the solar flares, by the Schumann resonance, by the electromagnetic field that they call the Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt is doing all kind of stuff different than it normally does. That's the Pleiadian light lock. When they be talking about we in the dome, if
Oh,
we was in the true dome, at the bottom where the dome meet the earth, you would have a perpetual air spiral all the way around.
right.
Right? Then they want to use the echo effect of a pop balloon in a hollow chamber. But the reason why that's not a good experiment to explain us being in the dome is because when it thunder in New York, you don't hear it in LA,
Right.
right? And the reason being is it's called the dissipation of sound. If you was in the dome and the thunder was being echoed through the dome, when it strike one place, you would hear it every place,
Mm. Mm.
right? So the sheer volume within inside the confines of atmosphere um, is so vast that the sound can't travel simultaneously from New York to LA for you to hear the thunderstorm that's taking place in New York. It's the
Right.
same. You can't hear the thunderstorms that's happening in Australia, but if we was in the dome and the sound of thunder was the identifier, then once that sound of thunder go off, everybody in the dome would hear it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So though this is a couple of things, but the Van Allen belt is the Pleiadian light lock that they talk about who can loose the bands of the Pleiades,
Right.
right? And it's backed up by what's called Arcturian light conjure, because they trapped us in here in order for the good ones and the bad ones to fix the problem before they left the lock, right? So this is the war in the spirit realm being confined to a specific geography or galactic location, right,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the earth. So I tell people that the war in heaven on Nibiru landed on earth as a sibling rivalry up there came to us as the war between the forces of dark and the forces of light. In other words, the light-skinned niggas versus the dark-skinned niggas,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So, but we ain't looking at it like that. We looking at it like some good people and some bad people is fighting it out. But they brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles and nieces and nephews, right? This goes back to the Gita, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it's all related, because this is why Arjuna had to tell, well, Krishna had to tell Arjuna that you have these people in the families. Everybody got them in their family, even though they're not from the same spiritual position in the conflict,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like it's a war between intelligence versus ignorance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they allow ignorance to run rampant until somebody come along and say, that's enough of the dumbass shit.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to the point where, okay, if it's enough of doing things from the perspective of ignorance, what do we have to do now to shift to intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to give you the example, they gave us something called artificial intelligence. That's
Mm-hmm.
4-point quantum encryption.
Mm-hmm.
But the human intelligence is tied to your spiritual body, which gives you a 19-point quantum encryption across 19 dimensions. That's 19 times 19 to the 19th power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why 19 is the sacred seal. Alpha meets omega. Beginning meets the end. So
Mm-hmm.
when we being trapped by accepting the structure of the religious dogmas that they gave us without questioning it. But soon as you start questioning it, more questions are going to arise till you get to the point where it's going to be so easy to see through it. But other people that didn't go through the process, they can't see it. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've been separated by intelligence versus ignorance.
Right.
And that goes back to everything we did is predicated on divide and conquer. They divided the humans up by geography, skin color, um, class, ranks, system, style, all of them different means of dividing us. And we still have the ability, after all the divisive tactics used to make us the worst, we still have the capacity to love each other and not care that other people don't want you to love somebody. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a friend, and everybody be like, man, why you hanging with dude, man? Dude, a piece of shit. No, that's my man's.
Mm-hmm.
He a piece of shit to you. He probably supposed to be a piece of shit to you, but he supposed to be a rose to me. He's supposed to be a diamond in the rough to me. And he ain't, everybody ain't supposed to get along. And this is one of the problems where people can't take criticism. They think everybody supposed to kiss everybody else's ass.
Mm-hmm.
I have not read in my book of life, nobody else's, where it say we obligated to kiss any ass. And then my mama also told me, you don't got to kiss nobody ass, but don't nobody got to kiss yours either. And I
Mm,
felt that.
mm,
That
mm,
sounded legit. But when you go to church, they want you to kiss Jesus ass, Mary ass, God ass. But God don't want you to kiss his ass,
mm,
because
mm,
he wouldn't have gave you those qualities of divinity that make you be able to stand on your own 2 feet. This also part of the discussion that Arjuna is having with Krishna,
mhm.
right? Embracing your spiritual path going to put you at conflict with people you love. It
Woo.
don't mean that you don't love them any less. It just means that your spiritual development, it's like outgrowing your favorite genes because you've been eating too much. You can either lose weight or you can give up the genes.
Mm,
Most people gonna give up the genes because trying to lose weight is difficult and don't nobody want no hard stuff. We
mm,
all want to go through life and bypass the hard part, not knowing that embracing the hard part sets you up for the rest of it to be a path of ease. But the
mhm.
hard part got to be addressed.
Right.
Everybody's ducking the pain in pursuit of the pleasure, right?
Mm,
Them people, they stuck to the right.
mhm,
And the other people, they so busy inflicting the pain that they don't care about the pleasure of others because they getting their pleasure from inflicting the pain. They stuck to the left,
mhm,
right? So the goal is to bump straight. That's all. You might have did some dirt back in your younger days before you knew better, but when you know better, you obligated to do better. You can't do better than what you know. This is
mm,
why it's a world of knowledge versus ignorance, intelligence versus ignorance,
mhm,
right? The wise versus the unwise, you know, the educated versus the uneducated. But then you got to look at education because you got what's called compartmentalized education. Back in the day when we was the husband on the farm and we tended to the farm, we knew how to do everything required to run the farm, from build the barn to cook the dinner to wash the. We knew how to do it all. But now we have to specialize in something. That's
mhm,
to limit the capacity of your mind to connect two fields of knowledge together in the unified field concept in order for you to use your automotive skills, your cooking skills, your fishing skills, your hunting skills in order to navigate life. The more skills you have, the more you are adaptable and prepared for the more varying circumstances of life. They teaching us that all you need to do is go to school to be a doctor or a lawyer and you good after that. No, you not. There's doctors out here losing everything they got trying to keep up, and they just can't pay their bills. It's the same with lawyers, right? But they get extra breaks that the regular people don't get. Because when the doctor get in distress, he can call the American Medical Association, and they can tell him what programs that they giving free money to doctors that's in a certain circumstance in order to bring their practice back to um, uh, a profit bearing practice. We
mhm,
don't have that in the regular day to day life. Like that's who the chief for. When you in your local area and you stuck in your life and you don't know what to do, you're supposed to ask for counsel with the chief. The
mm,
chief gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions about you when he understand what you can do, and he gonna say, "Well, have you ever tried doing yada yada yada?" And
mhm,
you're like,
mm,
"No, I'd love to do that." But that's what the problem is you never tried to do the thing that you love. So instead of chasing stuff to make money, chase what you love. Money gonna be there as a side effect of doing the right thing repeatedly. And if you're following your heart's desire, it's gonna keep you doing the right thing over and over to the point where you can no longer fail. It's
mm,
just gonna be natural. That's why you could raise a child in a wealthy family and they can go broke. But after a while, they can't stay broke. They can't function. They have to get that bread. And they know how, based on watching their parents, that there's something in them that can allow them to become wealthy again. And this is why most people lose the generational wealth and then another person later on in the family pick it back up. right? Because this is a saying, good men create good times. Good times create bad men. Bad men create bad times. And bad times create good men. It's a cycle, right? So the more that you're willing to endure and put the work in, the more you're gonna have later in your life time to live your life instead of your life living you. Most of us, our life is living us, and we was given that life by the designers of this matrix. It's not the life we chose. It's not our best life scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And most people scared to pursue their best life scenario because they all want a safety net. Ain't no safety net when you walk on a tightrope across
Right.
the Grand Canyon. You either gonna make it or you ain't. But
Mm.
you don't know if you don't try.
Rod, the Bhagavad Gita is a 700 verse sacred Hindu scripture, and you said it's part of a Indian epic called the Maha. How do you say it?
Mahabharata. Mahabharata.
So we
I can't
have
pronounce it like they pronounce it because I don't talk with the Indian.
indeed.
But
So
yeah,
so so Rod, so we have in 2024, we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. We also have to keep in mind we have uh Indian woman by the name a black. They say she's a black Indian woman by the name of Kamala Harris running for president. Is there any connection? Is there any prophecy being fulfilled with Kamala being in position to being the first woman Indian president with the name like we think about Kali Yuga? Her name is Kamala Harris. Is there any prophecy being fulfilled if she becomes president, or just the fact that she's running?
it's in India. It's the story of Kamala Devi,
Mm-hmm.
which was a goddess. But in the Christian Western tradition, it's the whore of Babylon.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So when you look in Revelations, you want to know where you at. Go to the chapter to talk about the whore of Babylon and the fall of the whore of Babylon. That's where we at.
So Kamala represents the whore of Babylon.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's why Joe Brown had to tell you that she sucked
Yeah.
her way to the top. She's a Hawk Tuah chief. She's she a Hawk Tuah chief.
Oh man.
But
Oh
look,
man.
we be at her head. But first of all, there's more than one Kamala Harris, and one of them is a man. And this is the secret of the
Rod,
whore of Babylon.
don't start that, Rod. Please don't start that. Oh man, don't say that, Rod. Don't
It's
say
more than one Kamala Harris, and one of them is a man.
that.
I'm just telling you. A lot of people thought I was crazy, but then they seen the receipts and was like, "Holy, why we ain't been know that?" It's all part of the Statue of Liberty, Eiffel Tower connection with Parthodon of Isis, which is Paris, and the fall of the Babylonian Empire, represented by Rome, and Rome is DC proper.
Right, right.
A lot of us don't know DC was named Rome before they named it Washington DC, but it was
It,
named Rome. And then the seven hills sit there. So they telling us the narrative using the program of the Christian dogma. These stories was taken from ancient texts and they was reworked so that you can't get the true meaning of them unless you figure out the location in which they from.
mm,
Right? We talk about the Gita, but if you go back to the book of Daniel and it say in the one was hewn from the mountain without the hands of a workman,
mm,
right? And he rolled down from the mountain to strike the feet of iron and clay, right? Now this is Sun Wukong in China, who was
right.
sealed in the mountain for 5,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then Titicaca came and recited the incantation to free him. And then one of the sorcerers gave her a band to put around his head to control him because he was uncontrollable. That's why they put him in the stone in the first place.
Mm,
But when you get to India, it's no longer the story of Sun Wukong, now it's the story of Hanuman. Hanuman being the handyman, being the man capable of doing all of the things that need to be done in order to solve the problem. He's able to draw from spiritual sources as well as physical sources and able to put the story together. So when you get over here, you see the monkey and the eagle in the Nazca lines, and the monkey is symbolic of the monkey mind, the Sakoma, and the eagle is symbolic of the phoenix taking flight on the awareness that the monkey mind is the untamed mind that you need to tame in order to attain the wisdom required. So in the Sun Wukong story, he journeyed to the west to recover the 10 scrolls of wisdom. The 10 scrolls of wisdom is 10 different things that's being used to rule: economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health. All 10 of those things represent the 10 scrolls of wisdom, because when you understand how they're being used against you, you can use the same attack to defend as in Aikido, as in turning the force and momentum of your enemy around and thrusting it back up on you. That's all part of the Earth clans coming together, bringing their great heroes from around the world to form one juggernaut, like the Autobots form one big giant robot, Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, yes.
Right. Optimus meaning the optimum, meaning the best of, and the prime meaning the original, the first one, the root. So they tell us the story in all of these narratives, but because we've been disassociated from who we was, our natural inclination to put these things together has been undermined and usurped by people that came to undermine and usurp who we were.
Mm. What does the Bhagavad Gita, Rod, say about, you was talking about the war in the heavens, and you mentioned Nimrod and it coming down to earth. Does the Bhagavad Gita go into the war that took place in the heavens?
No, it's looking at Earth and it's looking at the families lined up on opposite sides of the battlefield, looking at the war that's being fought on the earth, not the war fought in the heavens. That's a different scroll.
Mm-hmm. Is there any connection? You know how Ashwa Crazy back in the day, he had the video Christianity stolen from ancient Kemet. Is the Bhagavad Gita, is it connected to any of the other stories we hear, like let's say the Anunnaki or ancient Kemet or Atlantis or something? Is it connected to any of these other systems?
Yeah, because when you start studying the Vimanas Wars, you end up in India, because the Vimana Sutras is also taken from larger chapters of the Mahabharata. And then you have the Vedas, which is the wisdom teachings. The Vedas is contemporary with like Proverbs and Ecclesiastics, but it also tells stories in there, short stories too. So these texts are all what you call ancient pyramid texts. A lot of them is still in scroll form, untranslated, in the Tibetan mountains and in the Vatican library. Those was the ones they wasn't allowed to destroy, because the information they have was critical to the people of the earth when they wake up from the slumber.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. The books that weren't translated, I'm gonna show son that Billy Carson posted on his YouTube. He said, he put up this post. Hopefully y'all can see it. He said 84,000 secret books rediscovered within a sealed library of the 11th century Sakya monastery, Tibet. 95% have yet to be translated. Right, that's a hell of a number right there, man. How
Yeah.
how how
This
are we?
just one library. This just one library. They got them in Mexico too. Mexico and Peru.
Yeah.
They got scrolls like that. They tablets, clay tablets with hieroglyphs on them, and they tell us they don't translate. They translate.
Right.
All hieroglyphics translate.
Mhm.
There's no hieroglyphics that don't translate.
So how is these going to translate? What do you mean?
They just don't know the keys to unlock the language.
Right.
But the language will translate itself if you understand body language, because most hieroglyphic writings is taken from the movements of the body when in physical motion. But
Woo!
it's like a scene from an animation.
Woo! Woo! Hieroglyphics is imitated body language. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, the ones where you see people playing scenes.
Yeah.
Look, when you reach the alpha brain state and you sitting in the meditative position before the hieroglyphics, if you got the right DNA, they will come to life and play a cartoon for you. The cartoon will play out just like the story being told if you're from the bloodline. But if you're not from the bloodline, the pictures will remain stagnant and still. They won't move. But if you're from the bloodline, while you're looking at them, they'll start to take form. They'll start to move. They'll tap into your energy field and you will be awakened to what the hieroglyphics say without knowing what they say. That's all part of the awakening. When I say cartoon, I mean animated, like The Simpsons, or
Right.
matter of fact, they even got an ancient hieroglyphic depiction of Marge Simpson. That blew my mind.
Wow. What do you think about? I had a brother who writes light language, and he wrote some things down, Rod. What do you think about individuals who they go into this automatic writing and they write this language that we may not know what it
That's
is?
readable.
Uh-huh.
It looked like gibberish, but it's readable. It's readable. It's full of symbols. So what he's doing is channeling,
Uh-huh.
but he's not translating the channel.
Right.
So it's like you put your VCR in to record Big Time Saturday Night. You thinking you finna record wrestling, but you recorded the Spanish, what they call Sabado Gigante, Giant
Telemundo.
Saturday, the Big Saturday. So yeah, and now you got it on the video. You know what the hell they saying because you don't speak Spanish,
Right. Right.
right?
Gotcha.
But you got another sense by watching what's going on. You might
Uh-huh.
not speak the language, but you can grasp the basics of what's being displayed in the foreign language. It's the same with that type of channel. If he got to learn that language one symbol at a time.
Mm.
And then it won't be all over the page like that. It's going to either be from top to bottom, from bottom to top, from right to left, or left to right. It won't be all over the page. That's because he haven't tuned in to what the channel is telling him. He's just, being going into what they call an autotonic state where he
Yeah.
just automatically put it on there. He has
Right.
to learn that language. That's his higher consciousness talking to him in an ancient tongue that we haven't used in thousands of years,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
right?
Yes. Shout
Consciously, he don't know what it means, but subconsciously, he know what every one of them things mean.
Shout out to the brother Dave. This is brother. He brought this to the gathering of the masses. You know, it's funny. I said this on one of my previous shows, Rod. He gave this to me, and I folded it, and it got wet. I had it in my bag, and it got wet, and it was like a snowflake formed in the middle of it. Like this is for water right here. It formed right perfectly in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
yeah, there's definitely some power in this writing and what the brother's doing. And I'm gonna tell the brother, like you said, to really tap in one symbol at a time to figure out exactly what's going on here, man.
It's a book called Encyclopedias of Occult Symbols. That's
Mm,
what he needs because he'll see all of those symbols in there. And then
mm,
where you got variations, that's from the twist of the handwriting,
right, right.
right? So I might write cursive, and my slant in my cursive might be to the right, but you might write cursive, yours might be slanted to the left,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So
mm,
you got to understand the variations like that. And once you understand those variations, when you see the symbol, now you can use what's called the mirror principle, same but different,
mm.
right? That's what calligraphy is.
Right, right, right. What man, wow, this is a good. Let me get to I had a few super chat questions. Uh let me see. Somebody said the volcano erupted in Russia signals the awakening of the bear, his cosmic roar. Aquarius, the water bearer, has tsunami warnings in specific Pacific Ring of Fire. What's your thoughts on this, Rod? I don't know what's going on with this.
The Great Bear is Ursa Minor and Ursa Major. This is the what we call it the Big Dipper, Little Dipper.
Mm-hmm.
And the galactic timing in the age of Aquarius is normally signaled by a lot of water phenomena, floods, rainstorms, atmospheric river overrunning the atmospheric banks, it's pouring out on the earth, where it looked like water just pouring out the sky from nowhere, but it's not just pouring out from nowhere. That's the atmospheric river reaching its channel. It's becoming too full. That's the symbol for the spirit of the people of the earth becoming full, um, and overrunning and waking the people up. It's all symbolism until you know what it means, then it's telling you a story. And the story gonna always trace back to the holy drama.
Mm. You know, speaking of the holy drama, and we're talking about the Bhagavad Gita, one of the things it says in it is detachment. You know, we hear a lot about detachment through different spiritual teachers. And one of the things that say is detachment is not that you own nothing, detachment is that nothing owns you. I want you to elaborate on that a little bit because when people talk about detachment, sometimes they could confuse it with, you know, with something else or think it means something that it doesn't mean. So what's your thoughts on this right here and what detachment is as far as the ancient meaning of detachment, Rod?
So when you look at ownership of material things, right? You
Yeah.
can't take none of that stuff with you. Attachment is holding on to material things as if you can take them into the spiritual world with you. You already got all that stuff in the spiritual world. You just got to remember how to get it in the physical because as above, so below. If you can activate it spiritually, you can activate it physically. The
Mm,
detachment is not to become obsessed with anything of the physical world because it's passe. It's
mm,
all coming and going, and it's going
mm,
to come and go and come and go and come and go. It's elusive. Once you try to trap it, that's when it break free. But as soon as you let it be free, that's when it condensate on your presence,
mm,
right? So people chasing the bag can't never get rich, but the people that don't give a damn, they care, but not too much. They filthy.
mm, mm.
That's the difference.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I seen when we was talking about the writings. You know, a lot of people in the chat started talking about them writing and them being left-handed or right-handed. One thing I noticed, Rock, because I play the piano, and even when not just I play the piano, when let's say I have ideas that I write with my left or right hand, I notice my right hand has a different personality than my left hand, Rod. So my left hand, if I play a melody with my left hand, it'd be different. It'll be some shit that my right hand don't think of. Same thing when I'm writing. If I want to think about some thoughts, depending on what hand I use, because I practice using both, a different thought will arise. So this is some shit that we're not used to tapping into because we're only used to using one hand. So talk to me about do you think it would be easier to tap into ancient knowledge as if we're right-handed, we started writing with our left hand or using our left hand more? What is it about the different personalities of the right and left hand, Rod?
You work the personality difference is the side of the brain. The right hand is using the father side, linear logic. The left hand is using the mother side, abstract. Artists who are ambidextrous have a higher output of creativity than the ones who can only use one hand,
Yeah.
right? You ever seen a child start school in the kindergarten and he left handed and they keep everything, keep focus, put it in his right hand, put it in, they shifting that child. They don't want him in his right brain. So if you ain't right, what are you?
Mm,
You wrong as hell.
mm, that's a good one.
So they do that on purpose. But some of the children is defiant to them forcing them to write with the right hand. Why? Because the influence of the mother line is so strong it overtakes the child left brain with the right brain. So now they right brain dominant. They more abstract. They more apt to be proficient in the arts and entertainment field than they are in science and technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you look at your left hand. That's your feminine expression of your higher self. When you look at your right hand, that's your masculine expression of your physical self.
Hmm.
So it's the spiritual you and the physical you. We used to be ambidextrous,
Yeah.
but that was systematically attacked by the patriarchs to try to keep us from ever accepting matriarchal influence by turning off the right brain of as many masculine entities as possible, then rape them to ruin them, physically rape them to ruin them.
Yeah.
Now they not fit to rule no more. They did that on purpose. They know what they doing. Slimy ass. They did it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's
You
why
said
you always hear me call out them rogue pedophile cross dressing drag queen priests,
right. Right.
pedophile priest cults,
Mm.
right? Because they know what they doing. If I didn't think they knew what they was doing, I wouldn't be hard on them. But because I know that they know what they doing, because they wrote about it. They
Mm.
wrote about the dirt they did, and they celebrated it in secret, and then they condemned it in the public.
Hmm.
Right. That's why they got to have all that secret squirrel shit going on. While they doing a secret squirrel, they can celebrate all of the wickedness that they do um, among their peers. But they come out and tell us, we not doing no dirt. That's
Mm.
y'all out there. Y'all the criminals. Lock them up. We need a crime bill.
Hmm.
We need a war on drugs. They bringing the dope over here, and the same people declaring the war on drugs. Creating circumstances and situations. That way you don't have to micromanage anybody.
Yeah.
You could create the condition and the people will respond to the condition by nature.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in a perpetual state of war, but we didn't know who the enemy was, so we just fought anybody close.
Yeah.
So we fighting him because I wear blue, he wear red. I wear my cap to the right, he wear his to the left. Come on now.
Mm.
Can we find a better reason to fight each other? Like he broke in my house and tried to rape my sister, so I broke him up. You know,
Right.
that's a better reason than because he got his hat turned to the left and mine turned to the right.
Mm-hmm.
He from a different tribe than I'm from. They turned us against each other. They deliberately sent infiltrators in these programs. They wrote about them. The
Mm.
FBI snitch program. They wrote about it. They got documentaries on it. And they telling you exactly how they infiltrate us in those videos.
Mm.
But we don't know, we don't believe we in a police state, and we don't believe we've been warlocked for 400 years. So as long as we don't believe it, you can't get out of the condition that you don't accept exists, because now you be fighting in vain. You don't believe it exists. Even though you can see all of the symptoms of it, we're not in control of our economics. We're not
Mm.
in control of our education. We're not in control of our entertainment. We're not in control of our labor from where we gonna work it, how we gonna work, when we gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in charge of politics. We're not in charge of the religions of the world. Who is in charge?
Hmm.
Because I got some questions for them suckers. But they hide and they do everything secret, so they look like they innocent, but they not innocent. They the dirt dealers.
Mm.
Right? They the ones running the kind games on the most amount of people. And they say that the bigger the kind is, the easier it is to run. And that's why we've been trapped in this American corporate kind game for 235, 240 years.
Mm.
Right? Because we didn't know, we thought it was real. We didn't know they was a running game on us. We thought that they was legit. They not legit. We the only ones legit. The original organic Mississippi ruddy red clay dirt walking around the land with this nappy hair to the wavy hair to the straight hair. Right? We came in multiple skin complexions. We didn't just start having light breaks recently. That's old. We used to call them the children of the moon when they was lighter than like these Europeans like. But we had them. They was called the Children of the Moon. You can read about them in Isis Unveiled by Madame Blavatsky. She talk about when she talk about the root races, then she talk about the moon race. And the moon race was the ones who was the light brights before Caucasians came along.
What happened
Today
to that?
we would call Ashurics and Syriacs, right? But most of them just, you know, amalgamate back into the main line. And then you end up with these $7.50 Indians. They $5 Indians mixed with real organics. So
Damn.
they $7.50 Indians. They ain't $5 Indians.
Wow. So that's $7.50 in there. Wow. I mean, this brother here had a question in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. He wants to know about the 6 types of aggressors.
Right. That goes to the art of war. That's where the art of war is referenced in the Gita. And it's talking about the character types in the war. It's the same. They teach about it in any psychology class. They call personality types. Right. And the 6 types of aggressor is the 6 agitators. The character types that's most likely to be an agitator in the circumstance that's conducive to him being a aggressor in his personality type based on his surroundings.
Let's get to some questions before we get out of here from the people in the chat. Let me put my brother Rod Hayes Cash App up here. For those who inquire about donating. Let me see, sick. Hey. All right, so we're gonna get to some Q&A. I'm interested in knowing what's on your minds. Powerful topic, the Bhagavad Gita. We're dealing with ancient text for today's awakening. The brother Rod Hayes, if you would like to show the brother financial support. Somebody asked about Cash App. It's up on the screen. Rod Hayes Cash App $ SIG Ape SIKAPE. All right, y'all. Make sure you'll show the brother Rod Hayes some love, the Cash App love, and we're gonna get to some Q&A before we get out of here. All right. We're gonna start with this first one. What do you feel is the message of the Bhagavad Gita? I guess you kind of already touched on this, but what do you feel the message is of the Bhagavad Gita? I guess the overall message.
The overall message is in this spiritual war, don't be surprised who your adversary turn out to be.
Woo! Shit. Don't be surprised. What Biggie said in that song? He said, "Your mama have that ass line." What he said? Damn. And with 10 crack commandments, I think it was.
Yeah,
Your mama
he
had
said,
ass. You properly
I
gassed.
can't remember. Yeah,
If y'all remember Biggie's line, he said something about his mom's in 10 crack commandments about how your own mother will set you up. If y'all remember, put it in the chat. Anybody who remembers that. But yeah, that's powerful, Rod. That is powerful. I'm gonna take questions about the Bhagavad Gita first. So if you have any particular questions, let me see about the Bhagavad Gita. Let me put it in the chat. Okay, well,
I ain't read that. I ain't read that book in about 20 years.
Yeah, wow, damn. Somebody said ask Rod about the 90-foot statue of Hanuman they just unveiled in Texas.
If they that's that the size of it matters. 90 feet. I'll have to go and look at the symbolism around it because the name of the city, the road it's on, all that stuff matter. It's a sign. And Hanuman, Bobby Hemming talked about Hanuman too, by the way, for if y'all want. But Hanuman is the Indian Monkey King, who is similar to Sun Wukong in China. And the Buddha called him Hanuman because he could do anything. So I'm not sure what their motive was. I have to read into it because it's going to be some signs that will explain why they put it there and what was the motive.
Yeah, I think that's the line from Biggie. Your mama be in the
Yeah,
bushes waiting to light that ass up,
yeah,
properly gassed
yeah,
up.
yeah. Probably gassed up your mama in the bushes waiting to light that ass up.
Shout out to Notorious B.I.G. Great lyricist. Great lyricist. Somebody says, what does it mean when you return with a sacred symbol imprinted on your skin?
You had a spiritual initiation. If you're talking about when you wake up out of your sleep, you went through a spiritual initiation on either the fourth or fifth dimension, and you had to bring a physical reminder in order to jar your senses so that you can activate that energy in the 3D. Same with birthmarks.
Mm-hmm. You got a birthmark, right?
I don't, but a lot of people that got birthmarks is telling us, like for instance, in some cultures, they look for an heir that have a familial birthmark that only the heir has.
Mm-hmm.
In the islands, Tonga, Samoa, they really big on it, but they keep it concealed so that the settlers wouldn't exploit them with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what those symbols be. People wake up with scratches on them. They be done went through a spiritual initiation. And sometimes they be done fought off some real wicked, nefarious forces, and you come out with the physical. It's like Morpheus told Neo in the Matrix, the mind makes it real.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Let me this next question. Let me get to this next one. I just seen something here. Where did it go? Where did it go? Somebody said, what does the Bhagavad Gita predate?
It predates the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. Well, all of that stuff is fairly new, but it's just reworks of ancient text. It's older than the Ethiopian Bible. It's pretty old.
Mm-hmm. Is it older than the Sumerian text?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to
I
uh
seen somebody say I must have knew Badine Bishop Wine in the shot. I worked at a club on the west side called Brick Social Club, and I met him in there like 2 or 3 times, but we never carried on any conversation of any significance. I
mhm.
was working as a bouncer, and my extended conversation was, "Excuse me, brother, can you let these people pass? Thank you, I appreciate it."
Indeed. Somebody said, any significance of Cleopatra during this time?
Cleopatra was 2,000 years ago, and Cleopatra was way after the Gita.
Mm-hmm. What because there's so much.
Sanskrit is the oldest language that's still spoken. It's the oldest language that's still spoken from the ancient world.
What?
Um, all of these other languages, Latin and Greek and the derivatives, those are all languages that's under 4,000 years old.
What's the oldest language? What are you talking about?
Sanskrit, the language that the Gita is written in.
Sanskrit. Okay.
Right. It's the oldest continuously still spoken language. You have some ancient cultures around the world, but a lot of us has been infiltrated by foreign additions to the local language. But English borrow a lot of words from Sanskrit, like the word avatar is the Sanskrit word. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
Avatar. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. Avatar is a Sanskrit word. It's not English. The word Aryan not English. The word Aryan is a Sanskrit word, and it don't mean what they tell us it means. The original Aryans was they call them the untouchables now, but they got removed from their seats of power. Them was Inky kids got removed and replaced with Enlil kids that he had with an Earthborn.
Mm-hmm. Who originally who originally rocked the what's the origin? Like we talk about the origin of certain things. We knew Hitler was deep into the occult, and he started snatching symbols and shit. He had the swastika. Who originally rocked the swastika?
The
Rod.
swastika was a symbol from the ancient world that was global. And then it really originally, before they flipped it backwards, it originally meant balance with nature. But when they flipped it backwards, they meant imbalance with nature, belligerent to nature, and it was being used by Hitler to expose the pedophile priest cult. And
What you mean, like,
he came through the Thule Society.
yeah? So what you say balance? What do you mean, like balance with the feminine and masculine?
Balance with the feminine and masculine, and balance with the world around you. So let's say I got a village that I'm feeding and I need to feed them and I got to go on a hunt. We didn't just hunt and just kill something and be done with it. We did a spiritual cleansing process before the hunt. Then when we killed the animal, we did a ceremony over the animal as we took the entrails out and spilt the blood on the ground. All of those things was overseen by priests that used to attend the hunt with the soldiers, with the warriors, with the ones that went out and did the hunt. Now they just take it to the slaughterhouse and slaughter it. But if you get something that's kosher or something that's halal, they have to follow the ancient processes. That's why it's kosher. That's why it's halal, because they following ancient practices in the cleansing of the carcass that they're about to consume.
Is there any connection, Rod? You talked about Yahweh being see, I got the hat here. You talked about Yahweh being a title, representing one
Mm.
who could balance the masculine and feminine. Is
Yeah.
there a connection then between the original swastika and the whole the title of Yahweh being that it's both dealing with balance and masculine and feminine? No, yes, what?
No, the swastika predate the English, the word
It
Yahweh.
predates Hebrew. That's why it predates the whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sanskrit is way older than Hebrew. Hebrew's like one of the newer languages.
Yeah, the Hebrew is probably around 8,000 years old, but Sanskrit is at a minimum of 60,000 years old. Those scrolls you've seen,
Yeah.
some of them scrolls date back 300,000 years.
Woo, man. So what about the glyphs in Kemet? How old is those? The hieroglyphs. How old is that?
Those are about 7,000 years old.
Oh, so that's fairly new.
Yeah, but you gotta remember when Kemet was originally built, they didn't put hieroglyphics on everything.
Right, right, right. That
But
was a
when the dynastic period came about, they began to write the hieroglyphics that was in the scrolls on in the stone. And this was because they had a prophecy that the human was going to go into a Kali Yuga and
mm-hmm.
he was going to be ignorant to who he is. So they had to put stuff in writing so we can discover it while we got amnesia and use it as a map to break the amnesia on the first one that can break it on themselves and tell everybody else how to break it. But once you understand the mechanics of the conjure, it don't work on you no more because your spiritual defenses are beginning to put protection in those areas by nature.
Mm-hmm.
This is why they had to do everything secret squirrel, and we do everything blatant in their face, out in the open, no retreat, no surrender. We just telling you what it is, and follow the oral tradition and inform as many of the clans people as possible because we want to empower our tribes. We don't want to take the power and concentrate it on one individual or two individuals. We want everybody to have a say. In the tribal way, if a 2-year-old got a coherent question, the adult obligated to ask it to the one who have the answer.
Right, right. What but I just seen a question. uh they want to know, is the Bhagavad Gita designed to help connect you to your soul? Right.
It's wisdom teachings in there. Anything that you learn on earth, you gotta remember. It's unified field theory. All things are interconnected. Being exposed to ancient information is telling you something you knew before you was indoctrinated. There's something that you instinctively knew. anything that you instinctively knew before you was indoctrinated into ignorance, it is an attempt to wake you up from the slumber. All
Right.
of those ancient scrolls can facilitate your awakening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They got another one called the Zendavesta. That's from the Middle East. You have the Vedas, which is also a Hindu scroll,
The Bob,
right?
Bob Bob used to talk about the Rig Vedas. The Rig Vedas.
That's also Hindu scroll,
Yeah.
right? And all of these different texts, they're gonna do something different in the neurology. They're gonna affect the brain different, the information and how you perceive it. If you go in there with your Christian dogma mindset of everything evil but the church,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna just be confuse yourself worse than you was before you went in there.
Uh.
But if you go in with an open mind and a clear conscience, and you just a truth seeker, you're gonna open up something in yourself that's gonna allow you to go further.
Right. Rod, they want to know, are any cities in North America corresponding to cities in India that may affect us on the land?
We got twin cities all over. Not sure that it's one city in America that's a corresponding city to India. I think the only similarities I can immediately identify is New Orleans is equivalent to Bengali,
Mm.
the ancient city of India, because it's the oldest city that's still inhabited in India. And New Orleans is the oldest capital still inhabited in America.
Mm. Indeed. Somebody keeps asking this in the chat. I'm gonna let Rod answer your question because you done posted this question 7 times. They want to know, can you speak on on the alignment, the Earth between four gas giant?
The gas giants is speaking of certain types of planets. And I think we only got two in our solar system is Jupiter and Saturn, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm,
But the other ones are in the planetary trail behind Nibiru,
mhm,
right? And the alignment that he's talking about is a planetary alignment when Nibiru comes by, and they are juxtaposed. The four of them are juxtaposed at only for a short period of time, and it activate higher energies. But the specifically that's happens every probably 36,000 years or so.
mhm.
Whenever Nibiru makes its orbit,
Right. Uh Somebody said, can you speak on taste mentioned in the Gita? Bittersweet, sour, etc.
well, you can study the science of taste and get that explained for yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
an easy topic to research. It's talking about the um it's just giving him all of these little tidbits of understanding to look at things with the spiritual lens in the physical world. All these little tidbits that Lord Krishna is giving Arjuna is like keys to waking up. You looking at taste, you look at sound, smell, sight. You're talking five senses, and this is just a breakdown of the sense of taste.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. This is a question for me. Somebody said, Brother Rich, have you sent out the replay of the gathering? But I haven't received the replay. I started sending them out. You'll get the files are actually they're like 50 gigabytes. So I'm sending out a download, so it's taking a little longer. But half of y'all probably got it. That's in the chat. But you will get it soon, Nelly Barker. You will get it soon. But and I am in the process of sending it out. So you will get it soon, Nelly Barker. Somebody says, what did they call the land of India in Bhagavad Gita?
I don't remember. They got a name for it in there, but I don't remember.
Okay. Let's see what else. About this. Does Rod know anything about some called mitochondrial Eve?
Mm-hmm. That's just the oldest continuous line from women that's been tested from around the world. The common mitochondrial ancestor is known as mitochondrial Eve.
Mm,
They got a National Geographic edition and a documentary on mitochondrial Eve, and they got one on what they call primordial Adam.
mm. Indeed, indeed, indeed. All right, we're gonna do two more questions, then we're gonna get out of here. Um, Somebody said, "Can Rod touch? Where's it at? On geomancy? Can Rod touch on geomancy?"
That's the magical science, earth magic science, using the earth element as the primary instrument of your magical practice is called geomancy or charming of the earth. Is what it translates as earth charming.
Indeed, indeed. All right, all right. Hmm. All right, last question for the night. Are there what y'all be saying? Are there two space and outer space above us and inner space in the ocean? Do you understand this? I don't,
I have no fucking clue what that's saying.
brother. Y'all gotta, I told y'all this before, the grammar. Y'all gotta, I know y'all gotta get the so we could understand, what y'all saying. You gotta get your grammar together. Uh Let me see. Yeah. Okay, where's this? Maya Mystic wants to know, how do Rod feel about chaos magic and sigils? Can it save the children?
Chaos magic is the ability to use every form of magic that you encounter. That's the true what true chaos magic is. You're not strictly stuck in one discipline. You use what works. And sigils is a badass science. That's one of the coldest stuff because you can activate the sigil, you can write the sigil, and you can use the sigil indefinitely, and it's going to work.
Mhm, mhm.
Sigil, I refer a lot of people that ask me to sigil magic because it's the same as writing an app for the brain.
Woo! Come on, Rod.
It's the code, it's the app code to create symbols that the brain can gather all this information from.
Powerful, powerful. I was just taking notes when you said that. Oh man. All right. Let's see. I think I'm gonna squeeze one more in. Uh okay. Somebody said, can Rod touch on the three types of hearing according to Hinduism? I don't know about that. I never heard of that.
I'm not sure what they're talking about. Hinduism got so many different sciences within its teachings,
Yeah.
and then you got the ones who follow Kali Ma, the Thuggy, and you got the Brahmins. Then you got the ones that's practitioners of Siva, and they all got different sciences that teach different ways
Right.
according to the their doctrines, and each one of them got different doctrines. Hinduism, it's not really a religion.
Mm,
Like a religion is used to control people.
mm,
Hinduism is used to break people free spiritually, but they stuck in the caste system because that's a conjure.
mm, 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 mm. Somebody wants to know, Rod, can he elaborate on how to tap into your eighth chakra?
First, you got to worry about the seven chakras before you start dealing with the 8, 9, 10, 11,
Right.
right? Which is actually the chakras in your palms and your feet. The other four take you to 11, right? But some people believe the eighth chakra is about a foot above your head at the exit of the auric field.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case. It's so many more chakras in the physical body before you start counting the chakras that are in your etheric body,
Mm,
right? So that's like subjective to school of thought.
mm, mm. Any chakras in your hand, Rod? You talk about the palm, your feet. Any chakras in your hand?
You right in the center of your palm,
Right in the center
right
of your
there.
palm.
Yeah. If you face your palms together and
Mm-hmm.
you focus,
You can feel it.
you could feel it.
Yeah.
That's that's your chi. The stronger you can make that power between the palms, the stronger your auric field is, your spirit body.
Uh-huh.
And that exercise of pushing the palms until you feel that energy field, that's an activation. Once you get it activated, you keep doing it, the stronger you can get it. I mean, people can break the field. It'll literally raise the hair up on their arms in the early stages. But when you get good, you can turn it hot, you can turn it cold, you can make it produce scents, or
Mm-hmm.
you can make it produce moisture.
Mm-hmm.
All kind of stuff you could do just with the two chakras of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
The feet chakra is designed to communicate with Earth,
Mm-hmm.
specifically to communicate with Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everybody will tell you the ground, tell you to take your shoes off.
Mm-hmm.
Because the chakras on the bottom of your feet, it's like every time you standing on the earth, you plugged in to the earth field.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put the rubber barrier of the soles of the shoes between it, you break the current.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the tools that they use to accelerate our process of aging
Mm-hmm.
by
You know,
cutting us off from the earth.
right. So, all right. So we all know about healers. We hear the story about Jesus. Last question is coming from me. We hear the stories about Jesus laying hands on people. You know, hands. You just talked about the chi coming out of our hands. You lay hands on people. Sometime if you give a person a massage, you know they feel 1,000 times better after you touch them. You rub them or whatever. Um. So if we're known for thousands of years of healing people with our hands, something else that needs healing is and that's depleted is our soil. Can we heal the soil with our hands? Can we lay our hands? Because we hear about the feet, but can we lay hands on our soil and heal the soil the same way we do healing people with our hands, Rod, in order to get better
It's
food?
it's a different mind frame and it's a different energy projection. The easiest way to heal barren soil is get you some moringa leaves.
Right, right.
Moringa is like a miracle fertilizer for barren soil,
Mm-hmm,
right? And you could take powdered moringa, mix it with water, saturate some dead soil that won't grow nothing, and all kind of greenery will start popping up.
Yo, I already made up my mind, Rod. I don't care what nobody say. This is what I'm gonna do when I start growing food. Check this out. I'm gonna, and I'll be, I think like a musician, and me and Dr. B be kicking in about, I even asked Dr. B about instead of saying affirmations, singing affirmations to your DNA and to your genes and shit. The same way you get the girls' panty wet and you make the girls go crazy, you might be able to make yourselves go crazy by singing in them or whatever in a good way. I'm gonna have this. Is what I'm gonna have when I have my farm, Rod. I'm gonna hire some singers, and I'm gonna have them sing out in the fields over the place. They say during so-called slavery, we used to sing in the fields. I'm gonna hire people to sing, just sing in the fields where the food is at, Rod. They gonna be
They keep
singing.
blaming everything we do on slavery.
Mm,
We were singing to the earth long before slavery was a concept.
there you go. There you go.
Right. We've been using the agency of sound
Mm,
at least 100,000 years to affect change in the physical reality.
mm,
That's when they say speak a thing into existence. When you go to Kemet, they talk about the Husi, authoritative utterance with the exceptional insight.
mm.
And all around the world, Kali Ma with her tongue hanging out, the mother's rage, where she calling you everything but a child of God.
Whew.
All of it is based on sound. It's based on the sound and the vibration of the singing.
Mm.
It affects the animals. Music soothes the savage beast. That's real.
Yo, that's true. Rod, so check it out. So you all right, so you was on the show. I know I said I was gonna end that. When shit get good,
Go ahead, go ahead, brother Rich. I ain't got nowhere to go.
it was a show where it was you, Billy, Sharif, and B-Dell. And I think that was the show. Remember, I was playing the recorder.
Mm-hmm.
So I was outside late at night, and I was playing the recorder with the what do you call them? The that chirping that be at night. What's that called?
The crickets.
The crickets. Yeah, I was recording the crickets at night. You know, just experimenting and shit like that. Now, when you play the crickets in reverse, it's the exact same. There's no reverse. There's no reverse, bro. You know, if I say something and I play reverse, you hear them. There's no reverse with the crickets. You got explain that to me, Rod. There's no reverse.
It's because it's only one pitch, one frequency.
Okay.
There's no other side to it.
Okay.
In order for you to have a reverse, you have a two-sided frequency, or else it's gonna sound the same frontwards or backwards. Right. And as you move vibrations up the sound barrier, you got sounds that affect matter and you got sounds that don't. You got sounds that affect water, cymatics, and you got sounds that don't. Right. And these experiment with these different sounds causes different things to take place in the energy that's in your surroundings. Right. Remember, Beethoven has the side effect of causing the child's brain to operate at a genius capacity. The same with Bach and a couple more of those classical artists.
They were so-called black, right? By the way,
most of them was. Beethoven was a brother. Amadeus was a mulatto.
Okay.
It's like how much of the drop of blood you want him to have, depending on, his nature knows no color line.
Yeah.
Warren G. Harding was president turned the 1900s, and they hid his sister out because she was chocolate and he was vanilla. And then somebody on the campaign trail asked him if he was passing. He said, well, you asked me. Shoot, I wasn't born yet. There was a whole bunch of jumping back and forth across the fence back in them days. I could be anything.
Wow. Man.
Yeah, a lot of these people that we think pale faces is passing. Clark Gable, Fred Astaire, J. Edgar Hoover. There's a lot of them. They're just passing. Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe, they passing. That's why they got so much star power, because they still had that original drop that they came to get. And now, about 80% of these people we think is pale faces is passing. Right? You gotta remember, when they called the end to the war, what they called the Emancipation Proclamation, where they took the slaves from the plantation and the government owned them now. All of them people that they so-called set free that was mulattoes, where they go? We don't pay attention to the imitation of life.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
They all moved into the mainstream pale-faced communities and married into them, and we think that they a whole different people. They just got lightened up through amalgamation.
Right.
They pass it.
Right.
And if you want to know if they passing, all I could tell you is the booty don't lie.
Oh man, and on that note, man, yo, Rod. By the way, yo, Rod, I gotta call you tomorrow. I want to get you back on Patreon to do a follow up to the what's the what we did, the telepathy joint we did. I want to do a follow up on extrasensory perception. So I'm definitely gonna call you on that, and we'll try to set that up probably sometime next week or something like that. But man, what a show, y'all! What a show! I know y'all, and you know what be mad fun when we be doing these big panels. When we doing these panels, man, I gotta get you on one of those again, Rod.
I only like being on the panel with certain people, but you got a pretty good feel of my energy, so you've been putting me on with everybody that I like to talk to.
You and Billy, y'all always Y'all be killing it on the panel together, man. So
Hey, look, when me and Billy get to really spend some time together, man, y'all gonna be mind blown because he always do something to trigger me to go to another level of knowledge.
indeed.
And by me being in, able to chop it up with him, just just feel his energy in person,
Yeah.
that's gonna be powerful for me.
Oh yeah. We gotta connect y'all in person, man. We gotta do something, man. Man, listen, Rob, man, it was a pleasure having you on here, man. Any information you want to leave the people with to contact you before you get out of here, leave it for the family. We still got about 3,000 people in the room. Shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Let the people know how they could get in touch with you, Rod.
Before I do that, Rich, I want to expound on something I seen in the comments.
Yes.
America is not ancient Egypt. I'm gonna say that again. America is not ancient Egypt. America is not Northwest Africa. Egypt ain't even ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt wasn't called Egypt by the people that lived there. America can't be ancient Egypt when the term Egypt is a modern Greek term. Right? What it is the appropriation of global culture that took place into antediluvian world, covered the whole of the planet. The knowledge of the pyramid priests is the knowledge that built the earth. And that knowledge still exists in all continents. It's just pieces of it have been extracted, and now it's like putting together a big puzzle. The original Temple of Isis was in Arizona, what we call the Grand Canyon. And there was the original pyramid complex. This was the Great Atlant that they became known as Atlantis after Plato called it Atlantis. But it wasn't Atlantis, it was the Great Atlant.
Right.
And the Atlanta is more properly named than Atlantis is. The people that they thawed out in Antarctica are ancient Atlanteans. They Lemurian Atlanteans. That was a flash froze civilization, and they thawed some of them people out. And then they told us this fabricated story that these people was part of an experiment of some people they brought from Africa. The same BS they told us about us over here. Them people that they was in Antarctica was already there. They already was there, frozen in the ice, and they used the cryostasis recovery method to thaw them people out. And that's when they found out that they didn't effed around. Right? So when people start trying to designate Turtle Island as Egypt or ancient Egypt or North Africa, it's because they trying to disassociate us from this landmass as a people that was already here before any other settlers came. We were amalgamating and mixing with both Asians and Africans long before Columbus was even born. So stop listening to people tell y'all that y'all somewhere else. This Turtle Island, this is Atlantis. If they want to tell you this is something, don't let them tell you it's Egypt, because Egypt has only been named Egypt for probably about 800 years. In modern Egypt, with the current lines of demarcation, that came out in the 1800s as part of the scramble for Africa. So these people was being misleading, but some of them actually believe the bullshit they teaching.
Indeed. And on that note, any contact info for the people, Rod?
Y'all can catch me on Rod Hayes on Facebook, or the Sick Ape, almost the same as my Cash App, except it got the in front of it, on Instagram. Them the only two channels that I'm on. Otherwise, y'all catch me on Young Elder. Y'all can catch me right here on Brother Rich, or somebody else who might invite me to do a show. I'm thinking about opening up a TikTok for my live next.
Ooh, that'll be powerful. Oh man, so many people on TikTok, Rod. Oh man, I gotta get on there more too. The youth is on there heavy, Rod. Heavy, man. So yeah. Hey Rod, thank you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tomorrow, by the way, AA Rashid will be on tomorrow night, family. So tune in 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'm gonna have the brother AA Rashid speaking. Rod Hayes, I want to thank you once again, my brother. I'm gonna call you tomorrow so we can set up this Patreon interview, brother.
For sure, brother Rich. You know, I'm down. You know, you're my
Yeah,
man.
I know, man. I know. We wish we could have had you here, man, at the gathering, man. The gathering of the
Yeah.
masses, man. We needed you here, man.
Hey, look, I told you it's a good thing I didn't come because I couldn't move.
Yeah. You said you was
I was catatonic. I don't know what. There was some shifting in the energy field, and I just was fatigued for like 4 days straight.
damn. Mm. I'm glad you better now, brother. You sharp as ever. Keep up the great work, and I'm gonna call you tomorrow, my brother.
All right.
All right, peace, family. See you tomorrow.